Welcome to another presentation of Men of the Infinite. Reincarnation is the reason most thinking people aren't interested in Buddhism. This is because reincarnation has about as much evidence in its favour as does a creator god, or Santa Claus, or the Tooth Fairy, which is to say there's no evidence for it whatsoever. In this presentation I'll demonstrate that the Tibetan Buddhists have misunderstood the import of the teaching of reincarnation, and that they're presenting a too literal and too materialist interpretation of it. And I'll show that the language of reincarnation is intended as a poetic expression only to talk about cause and effect. The Dalai Lama is the head of one particular school of Tibetan Buddhism, and he's become the face of Buddhism to many in the West. His followers believe him to be the 14th reincarnation in the line of Dalai Lamas. But the Dalai Lama himself reports that he can't remember any of his past lives, and nor has he ever been able to remember any past lives at any time in his life. This is exactly what we would expect, given that reincarnation isn't true. Tibetan Buddhists don't believe in an individual soul that transmigrates from one life to another, like a spark jumping from one body to another. Rather, they contend that there's a stream of consciousness, which is ever-changing, and at the time of death, the stream of consciousness somehow makes its way into a new body. But when it does so, it completely forgets all its past lives. Yet there's enough that carries over from the previous lives to maintain a continuity. The diagram you're looking at illustrates the process. Of special note are the thick black lines on either side, which delineate the stream of consciousness from everything else in the universe, including the separate streams of consciousness of other people. These strict demarcations are necessary in this system of thinking because when a person does something bad, like commits a violent murder, then the karmic consequences of that action must be felt by that individual and not by some other innocent person who wasn't responsible. In sharp contrast to this fanciful view of the world, consider now what happens in reality. Here we see there is no delineation between one person's stream of consciousness and that of another person. Each makes inputs into the other. Some of the criminal goes into making the victim. Something of the teacher goes into the student. Something of the parent in the child, and so forth. So you can see that when it's taught in the language of reincarnation, that the karmic consequences of deeply ignorant acts is rebirth in hell. We can see what this means in a very real and direct sense. For when a torturer tortures a victim, he is reborn as that suffering victim immediately, in the very act. This is the way cause and effect operates in the real world. One thing causes another, and in doing so becomes another. But one thing's for sure, you won't hear these truths spoken in Tibetan Buddhism. In fact, there's no place in the real state of affairs for a solid and persistent ego or self, not even if it's disguised as a stream of consciousness. No such linearity can be found in nature anywhere. One becomes many. The Buddha once taught that rebirth happens in the same way that a candle can be lit from the flame of another. But cannot one candle light many others? So, can we be reborn in hell? Can we be reborn as an animal? There's no hell but the hell you experience. Whatever you desire, you are. So what is reincarnation? In truth, it's only cause and effect. It is you, and it's everything that's happening around you. It's no mystery.